Howdy, howdy. The Lena-Winslow Panthers' historic season came to a close yesterday in the 1A state championship game. Nevertheless, the loss is unable to break the bond between this team and the standard that their small group of seniors has left behind. Jalen Rakowska, Jimmy Goebel, Coburn Lynch, Maverick Cass, Landon Grindy, and Lucas Kemple. Those are the names of the 6 seniors on this year's Lena-Winslow football team that have laid the groundwork for the rest of the Panthers program. Those 6 seniors started their freshman years of high school right after the infamous COVID year and led Lewin to 2 straight state titles, followed by another 2 second-place finishes, including this year's. In a year where Lena-Winslow was doubted, they persevered and showed the younger guys how to stand against the noise.
It's incredible, and especially us 6 that made it out through the end. We started off with 16, 17 kids, and there's only 6 of us that came out at the end, so we've built that close connection with each other, and we're like brothers from another mother. I wouldn't want to be in any other program besides this, and I wouldn't ask for anything better than this.